Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this webinar from Lumascape today. My name is Ryan Williams. I'm the Director of Marketing here, and we've got two exciting products to talk about. They are step lights, and they're called the Bezel and the Nook. For short, we call them the BZ2 and the NK2. And with me today to help present these two new products is our Technical Product Support Manager. His name is Chad Waters. Chad, you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. Chad Waters, Technical Support Manager with Lumascape. As Ryan said, I also, I'm coming over from the lighting product management team, so I had the opportunity to work on the development of these fixtures, and certainly are near and dear to my heart. I think I'm okay with you giving this presentation, Ryan, but you'll certainly hear me chime in quite a bit.
All right, perfect, Chad. I'd appreciate that. So when we talk about these two new step lights, Chad, you were instrumental in helping us develop these things. Do you have any thoughts here in terms of what were you thinking and what brought about these products?
Exactly. Yeah, sure. So we were focusing on this particular genre, the low-level step light genre, and you'll see these two form factors are kind of a popular form factor in the industry. The mini Nook, as we have affectionately call it, the NK2, was a smaller version of a product that was inspired, and we saw a lot of feedback on larger versions, and we said, if we want to be viable in this market, we really need to come up with a compact version of this product. So I believe you'll see, good performance from the NK2, and of course, a size that everybody can certainly appreciate. And then the bezel, once again, a very popular form factor in the market, but we really wanted to set ourselves apart, and I think we've done that with the floor graze option. I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, but I saw these products both as a designer in my former life, as a salesperson, and just as a lighting professional walking around, seeing these types of products getting installed lower and lower, and it's happened to me as a specifier.
All right. I think we lost Chad, but let me just jump in really quickly here. We have when we want to focus on these step lights here, we really have 4 key requirements that we want to talk about today. Okay, those 4 requirements are performance, spacing, height, and blend. These are the 4 key things that anyone needs and wants to know when we talk about step lighting specifically. So for each of these 2 products, the BZ2 and the NK2, performance, spacing, height, and blend, that's what we're going to focus on. So here's a nice application shot, real photography of the BZ2. As you can see, there's a minimal extrusion off the wall. It sticks off only about 1/8 of an inch. That's 3 millimeters. Now there is that scoop glare control on there, which is available in a short and long version, and we're going to talk about a couple of those today. Specifically, when we talk about the performance, we have 2 different performance options for the bezel or the BZ2. And really that focuses on how high you want to install this fixture. The performance wash focuses on a nice and beautiful uniformity and consistency, but it requires you to install it anywhere from 1 foot to 3 feet in height from the mounting height perspective. And for our friends outside of North America, that's 300 to 900 millimeters in height. The second option is the floor graze. The floor graze is something that's designed to be installed very close to the bottom, and we're talking less than 6 inches off of the ground. Okay, and I mean by less, 6 is about the maximum there. So again, that's around 150 or so millimeters in height. Okay, so those are our 2 performance options. When we talk about a couple of scenarios to actually make these go live, we want to make sure that we're putting these in a specific scenario. So scenario number one is minimize the mounting height. We want to get this as low to the ground as we possibly can. And in that case, here's our scenario. So mounting height is 6 inches off the ground. Spacing is 12 feet on center. And look what that average to min number looks like. That's an average to min of 8.4 to 1. Now that's still hitting an average foot candles of 1. That's about 13 lux. And our minimum still hits that 0.1. So that's a fantastic example of real life application of making this work. Chad, I believe we probably have audio back for you. Chad, do you have any thoughts here?
Well, I was just going to say, Ryan, that we really focused on this particular metric when we made the decision to put these things against the ground. We had seen that done with these products before, and of course, whether it's intentional or not, you always get those hot spots right in front of the ground. So we spent a lot of time trying to get that required uniformity. We focused a lot on basically wall grazing technology to try and figure out, how do we do this successfully with a wall grazer? And there's lots of applications out there. How can we now get this on the floor? So we're very happy with those numbers that, we were shooting for less than 10 to 1, so we're very happy with this 8.4.
Awesome, thank you, Chad. All right, so scenario number 2, our goal in this one is to maximize uniformity. So we're still using the floor graze option. Our mounting height is still only 6 inches off the ground. Looks like our spacing on this one is 10-foot spacing. And Chad, help me out here with the some of the metrics down at the bottom here, our average to min and max to min. Those look fantastic.
Again, just trying to maximize that uniformity, because putting these fixtures that close, that's always everybody's concern is what is that going to do to uniformity? So you can see we spent a lot of time there, and very happy with the numbers. For those of you who made it to Philadelphia, made it to Light Fair, were able to swing by the Lumascape booth and maybe poke their head in next door, you saw these products in action with this wall graze, and it does look as good as these numbers point out. And we're anxious to get a product in your hands to prove that. I just want to make sure that we're kind of putting all of this in perspective. I don't think there are many products on the market, if any, that are intended to be mounted this low. So, we're talking spec locker here. If you can work through an application with your customer, there's really nothing else on the market that's going to perform in a similar manner.
Awesome, thank you, Chad. All right, so my last scenario for the BZ2 is just maximizing average illuminance. There are sometimes cases, whether they're on city streets, public areas, where you just need light. It might be a specific requirement for the city. In this case here, we're saying our average foot candles is 5. Okay. In that case, we've got 10-foot spacing, definitely hitting the minimum levels of 0.2. But this is just another option here, another scenario where the BZ2 can be effective for your specific site, just from a specification standpoint. Okay, so those are our 3 examples or scenarios for general use, how we see it for the BZ2. Now let's get into some of the general features here. So here's a close-up view of the fixture. We can see that I'm calling this a flush mount, quote unquote. It sticks off the wall only 1/8 of an inch. That's around 3 millimeters for the bulk of the fixture. It does have tamper resistance. The screws are hex. They are captive for the installer, just to not lose any of those small screws that can be a pain. We've already focused on the optics packages, floor grazing, which does exactly what it describes, and Chad gave us a fantastic description of that background, as well as the performance wash when you need something a little bit higher. From a glare control standpoint, we do have 2 different hood sizes right there. So we have a standard length and a longer length. This example right here shows the longer length. And my next slide does describe, compare those two sizes. We also have the back box. The back box is shipped separately. It is composite to help with a number of different corrosion issues that possibly could happen depending on the location of the site. And lastly, here we do have the faceplate is die-casted aluminum. Now that die-cast aluminum also has two different finishes on it. First, we put a layer of anodization over that. That is enough to put it outside in wet environments. But on top of that, we complete the finish with a powder coat layer as well, not only to give it an extra layer of protection, but to also give it the general color as well as the texture of finish. Here's an example of that glare control and the two different options, standard and long. Obviously, the long is going to give you the most glare control and is ideal when you have when you're installing these things, particularly with the performance wash option, anywhere from 1 to 3 feet in height. Or when you want to maximize your illuminance and total lumens, in those cases, the standard shroud might be a little bit better for you because, again, you're going to get the numbers that you need. In both cases, they still don't stick off the wall very much. The shorter version is only just over a ½ inch in width off the wall, not off the rest of the fixture. That's about 16 millimeters. The longer version is just less than an inch, or about 23 millimeters. A few of the other specs that we haven't mentioned yet. There are two different output options for the bezel, a lower version and a higher version. These numbers are that 10 watt equivalent or so, where the total lumens are ranging anywhere from 600 to 800 total lumens. That's delivered lumens, by the way. Efficacies are great. CRI is the mid 80s, that's at 84. A couple other things that you might want to just highlight here. You can see the specs on the screen, but the IES classification is a type 4. From a compliance standpoint, for those who are using that in where I am here in North America, the line voltage version is UL 1598. That is suitable for wet locations. Now, if you want to use it outside of North America, we do have a lower or low voltage version. That's a 12-volt version. It is, instead of the 5 and 10 watt configurations, it is a 3 watt option. It does have UL, it's 1838 in that case, as well as other certifications for various parts of the world. NOM for Mexico, CE for much of the rest of the world, and even RCM for that Australia and New Zealand area. Lastly, from just checking the box here, this fixture is IK9 rated, and from an IP standpoint, it is what we typically do in Lumascape is we rate it at 66/67. That means it passes both levels, and that's important because from a design standpoint, it is much harder to pass 66 than it is 67, believe it or not. So we mentioned to you that both are covered because they are equally important. We also have this the mounting kit. Again, the mounting kit is sold and specified separately. That's for you so that we can get these into the hands of the installers sooner. The depth is less than 4 inches. That's important for many installation sites requirements, as well as from a metric standpoint, that's less than 100 millimeters. Polycarbonate back box, just again for to reduce corrosion issues and make things a little bit easier to work with. Knockouts are available throughout the fixture to make it easy for that installer. And in addition to making it easy for the installer, we do have these stainless steel brackets. You can see a picture here on the slide. Stainless steel brackets can be put in this this horizontal version or a vertical. They can be flipped to be vertically. This is the mounting brackets, not the fixture itself. And it does have some settings just to help get that distance just right, so you can get the setting of the back box flush with the facade. As you would expect, all the hardware is stainless steel. We wouldn't do anything else. And I think that should be most of your questions for that mounting kit. Before I finish up with the BZ2, I do want to remind you that you do have questions available to you. There is a questions box in the panel for the GoToWebinar meeting. Feel free to throw out a question or two if you have any, and Chad will kind of help moderate that and help move that along and make sure we can get all your questions answered.
And Ryan, before we do move on to the mini Nook, we did have one question, and that was emergency. What are the emergency options for the bezel? Uh, it's probably no surprise when we say that the size of this product did not really give us a lot of emergency options. We basically minimized the dimensions of this fixture based on the standard power requirements. So we really don't have any room to incorporate any integral emergency elements. In this case, you'll have to invoke the inverter supplier on your line card. So yeah, we were going for size rather than emergency options in this particular case. But that was a great question. Also, pricing. Ryan, did you have any pricing information?
Yeah, I think from a pricing standpoint, this webinar is full of agencies in North America as well as distributors internationally. I do want to keep that question off of this just to make sure that we can share this in the future and we don't have any issues there. What I would comment on pricing is that these are going to be very, very affordable and very easy for you to spec and to hold that spec for sure. Feel free to reach out to your local regional or sales manager to help you with that information. But let's hold this question for a different time.
I was going to say, also great plug for the web configurator. If you are not signed up for that yet, make sure you get signed up. And actually, pricing for these products is on there. Last question: does the mounting kit clips come horizontal or vertical position? I believe they are set up for a traditional, I guess, mounting to a vertical surface, mounting to a vertical surface, usually that wall surface. But as Ryan said, it is very easy to change the orientation of these clips and to attach this mounting kit to a horizontal surface that is nearby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You could definitely do both, just to maximize flexibility for that installer for sure. Chad, is that our last question?
Yeah, that's all we have so far. Great questions. Keep them coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep them coming. We'll go ahead and jump into the next section. But before we do that, just a quick recap. So remember, those are our 4 requirements: performance, spacing, height, and blend. I think the performance goes without saying, especially on that floor grazing option, where we have a variety of different scenarios that'll meet the needs I think that you're looking for. Spacing is going to range from that 10 to 12 foot range. That's what we'll call it 3 to 4 meter standpoint. You can go much wider. Again, as you all know, as from your background, you know, there's always trade-offs in terms of width and requirements, but we have a number of different options. And of course, all the IES files are available to you to play with. Height, we talked about the 2 different options with your optics, right? So less than 6 inches off the ground, which is a fantastic offering. We're talking for that floor graze option, and then anywhere from 1 to 3 feet for the performance wash. And of course, blend. This design is a very timeless looking option that will blend with a number of different facades and architecture designs. So let's keep it moving here. So we've talked about the Bezel, the BZ2. Now let's move on to the Nook or the NK2. This is our second option that we have today. There are actually 2 different options of the Nook, the Nook 2 and the Nook 4. Today, we're going to focus more on the Nook 2 because that is the new product. We do have the larger version coming out on officially on Lumascape, probably towards the end of this year or very early next. But we do have ways to get this to you if you need it. So feel free. Again, we always want you to be able to reach out to your local regional, and we can help make this work if you like what you see on the 4 side. So primary features of the Nook, a lot of these things you're going to feel are very similar to the Bezel because they were designed at the same time. I do call this a quote unquote flush mount because it sticks off the wall only about 1/8 of an inch, that's 3 millimeters, and is a very, very flat, extremely flat option that's flush against the facade. We do have the same tamper resistant screws. In this case, those screws are not on the face, they're tucked up on the inside of the fixture, right underneath the light source itself. So you really will not see those fixtures unless you are bending down or sitting on the ground looking straight into the fixture, which, as we know, most people do not. I would call this what I call a baffle-free scoop. We don't have the lines, which generally, from my experience, creates a lot of lines and patterns on the ground, which we like to avoid for some smooth transitions. Optics packages on this one. So for the smaller NK2, we only have one standard package. We call it a medium throw. For the larger one, which you'll find out, like I said, later that this year, has 3 different throw options, what we call a short, a medium, and a long. The back box is shipped separately, just like the BZ2. We also have knockouts and a number of different features that'll help you make this easy for the installers, which we definitely want and care about. Okay, so from a dimension standpoint, our NK2 sits around just less than a 6-inch square. That's around less than 150 millimeters for the rest of the world. The larger version is somewhere around a 10-inch square, or around 250 millimeters. So different look. In this view, you can also see those screws again that are tucked up right up against the light source, which is the best way to keep the faceplate clean and to keep the thickness very low at that less than that 3 millimeter range. So let's do this again as we did the BZ2. So here I've got 2 scenarios here. One, and these are mostly for commercial spaces on this NK2. This is the scenarios that I'm bringing up here, because when you need a lot of light, the NK2 is going to be a perfect fixture for you. In this case, we're hitting a 5-foot candle average. When you need light, especially in cityscapes, this is going to be the fixture that you're going to need. In order to get that uniformity, average to min of 12, which again is fantastic, your spacing is going to be about 8 feet wide, or just less than 3 meters. Moving on to the second scenario. Again, this scenario is going to maximize illuminance. When you just need light, we're talking an average foot candles of 10 or greater. In this case, this is where the NK2 is going to do really well for you. 6-foot spacing in this one, but remember, we're trying to maximize illuminance and keep that average to min number down. That average to min number is 9. Again, a fantastic number for step lighting in general. So those are just the 2 scenarios I want to share with the NK2. Jumping back into compliance again, we've got that suitable for wet locations UL 1598 for North America. This one is IP65 with that UL listing. The NK4, the bigger brother here, still IP65 with listings in for UL, CE, and RCM. From a technical standpoint, we're talking total lumens are going to be ranging that 600 or so for the higher output NK2. For its bigger brother, those total lumens are going to range from 400 to around 1750. So again, with the Nook is definitely there, whether it's the smaller one or the larger one, definitely packs a big punch for you as needed. Advocacy is strong. CRI is still in the low to mid 80s. And as you can see from the number of technical specs here, I would also mention that IES classification is a type 2 with wide beam angles. Mounting kit, as you would expect, is sold separately. We've got our various depths here, always designed to be less than that 4 inches or so, or mid 80s to mid 90s millimeters in depth. Knockouts that are there obviously to make it very easy for your installers. And polycarbonate just to keep it clean and easy and problem free, most importantly. So that ends our NK2 portion. Just a reminder, again, performance is there. We have the output, the illuminance, and the strong commercial needs there. Spacing on the Nook is not as far as the bezel, but is still strong based on the needs that you have for your particular site or job. Height on the NK2 is going to range between that, we'll say 1.5 to 3 feet in height. That's around that 1 meter or so. That's going to be your true your best option right there. And again, blend, the NK2 is probably the best option for a blend because it is extremely minimalistic. No lines, almost invisible curve. The screws are tucked into the light source. This is probably the best option from a blend that you have on the market here at this point. So what that does is that really concludes our overview of the Bezel BZ2 and the NK2. Before we go, I just want to make sure if are there any final questions that we needed to review. So if you haven't already done so, go ahead and throw that into the chat box. While they're doing that, Chad, do we have any in the queue right now?
We do. We've been receiving some really good questions. A couple that I did answer, but I think it's important to bring up anyway. Color temperatures. What are the color temperatures available for both of these products? The Bezel and Nook. They are available in 3000 Kelvin and 4000 Kelvin variations for their line voltage models. Are these UL listed for horizontal mounting? So I just want to make sure we're clear on this. The horizontal orientation, you know, the bezel has a very horizontal orientation. So they're UL listed for their standard orientation, what I would call a horizontal orientation with the bezel in a vertical surface. So we are not set up to rotate these fixtures much more off of that normal axis, and also the surface that these go into should be pretty close to vertical. I'm sure if you had some variations, that would be okay, but you know, if we were talking about mounting these products in a horizontal surface, I think we're going to run into some issues there. But if you had some questions, I would suggest reaching out to your regional sales manager. Excellent question. When will these options be available on the site? I mean, this sounds like a pretty good group, so I say we make them available today. Actually, it's the secret is they're already on there. Spec sheets, pricing, everything is on the Lumascape.com website. And as I said before, if you are not signed up for the web configurator, you should get signed up, get your account approved so that you can see the pricing for these items.
Hey, Chad, I just wanted to add to that item real quick is the fact that we are ready to ship on these things. We sent out a pre-release email to you all, I want to say around 2 months ago or so, and that was just to say, hey, this is coming. I believe the sales team already started talking about it at that point. If you are not receiving those emails, quick plug to make sure you sign up for our newsletter on the website. It's on the homepage down at the bottom. That'll start getting you into the system. Then you can start and then work with your regional to make sure that you are tagged as an agency or an agent so that you can get some of the pre-release information that we sent. We sent out another email, I think last week, saying that this is coming, and that's how you heard about this webinar today. And then next week, the official launch that goes out to all of our contacts, as well as social media, press release, and everything that's going to go out next week. So in short, put your specifications in, put your orders in. We are ready to ship.
Yeah, in fact, we've already shipped a bezel order.
We had a great order already. So
did, yep. Couple more questions. Samples. What's your plan for samples, Ryan?
What I would recommend, as you always should do, just get in contact with your local regional, and we'll kind of walk you through the path on how that works.
Exactly. And if you have a customer that is interested in these products, I'll just remind you of the Lumascape sample policy. 50% of DN for 60, 90 days. I don't remember which it is off the top of my head, but and if they return that product, we will credit that purchase order. One more question. Forward the power. Somebody is interested in this PowerPoint, and I believe we are making that information available. Is that correct, Ryan?
Absolutely, we could definitely share that again. Reach out to myself. It's ryan.williams@lumascape.com. You can do the same thing with chad.waters@lumascape.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, right, Chad?
That is correct.
And as always, as I mentioned a couple times already, reach out to your regional. But we are happy to make this PowerPoint available to you.
Exactly. And then one last question, just a little clarification on that IP66, IP67. So IP up to IP66, that is a spray test. A lot of people believe that the higher the number with IP, the more difficult that rating is to achieve. But the IP rating changes from IP66 to IP67. IP67, IP68 is actually a submersion test, whereas everything up to that, including IP66, is a spray test. And IP66 being the most difficult spray test actually is harder to pass than in certain configurations than IP66. We've seen products that will pass IP67, but not IP66. So that's why we bring that up, that this product will pass IP67 and IP66, because there are some differences there in the way that is tested. And a Google search on IP ratings will certainly give you a lot more information than I could probably provide at this time.
Yeah, so Chad, one common thing, our technical manager, Cameron Spiller over in Australia, he commonly says, and I love this example, he says, an empty cup, if you stick that into water, will pass IP67, right? It's temporary, there's water inside, it's gonna push it out. So IP67 is not a very hard test to pass. It's only 30 minutes, limited pressure because limited depth. 66 is actually harder to pass. And so we're letting you know that we're calling out both, because it is harder to pass, generally speaking, 66 than 67, even though 67 has a higher number.
Yep, exactly right. So that being said, while the Bezel did pass an IP67 submersion test, it is not a submersible fixture. There are other code requirements that need to be in place, and again, not a product designed for submersion. Just good to know that if there's a lot of water on your project, this can handle it, as long as there's not a lot of water for a consistent period of time. As a reminder, yes, the Nook is IP65 rated. And then a couple questions about Lumascape, we're known for our uplights. So can these products be mounted as uplights? No, they cannot. These products are intended to be mounted in a wall, sort of a vertical surface orientation, and not in a horizontal surface as an uplight style application. And I think that's all we have so far. I shouldn't say all we have. Excellent questions.
Yeah, they are fantastic questions. So again, thank you everybody for joining us. We appreciate having your support of Lumascape. We appreciate you joining us here today. So again, as I've said over and over, reach out to the regionals. Feel free to reach out to Chad or myself. We're happy to help you out. We're happy to help support this new product introduction. Look for another email going out next week, as well as the social media, press releases, and other things. So thanks again. Enjoy your day, and we will chat with you again sometime soon. Thanks, everybody.